What's up, community? Happy to see everyone, how everyone is feeling today. I'm happy to be back to another live stream, and today we are back with some reviewing your code, which is, I don't know if it's surprising, but you guys love this series, and I love it too. Honestly, it gives me the chance of just reviewing people's else code, and I think you guys can just send your links. I will review those projects today on the live stream. So the only thing you have to do is literally post a link here on the Twitch or YouTube chat or Twitter chat, and I will review your code's project. Ideally would be a web project, not a package, all right? Not a package, because we are full of packages already on the live streams, and I want to actually, review web projects. Kelsey, what's up? Nice to see you. Sheldery, nice to see you as well. How you doing? Nice to see you all. And Kimber now is a new... Wait, what? Did Streamlabs just literally fucked all the alerts today? Oh my god, tell me no. Give me a moment, chat. Oh my god, how do I disable this? I know, chat. 1 second. Mateus, you can literally submit any project, okay? I will give it a review. As long as the code is in English, we should be chilling. Okay? We should be chilling today. This will be super exciting today. I am very exciting, chat, so we are going to get started in a second once I fix my alerts today, if you guys don't mind. All right, so I need to disable the follow, the merge, the subscribers too, I think. I will have to figure out this all out later on. Donation is okay, boom, and let's close this for now. Yeah, I know, Streamlabs is doing updates every now and then. That's basically fucking a little bit my live stream, but hopefully we are okay with it today. No, if you're reviewing my code, it feels like you should not pass. You know what? We had multiple projects already here on the live stream. Today, I have in the pipe 3 projects to review. The first one will be a project of my own called the pinkery.com. And honestly, there is a bunch of bad things on pinkery.com. Okay, there is a bunch of bad things. We are going to review them all. I have also something here called the Fast Break, which is a regular Laravel app. And again, it's not in English, it's literally in Spanish. So we are going to review this today. And depending of the time, we may jump to different web projects you guys may send to me, or I'm going to review a little bit of the past plugin browsers code, which is fresh new code, fresh new 2025 PHP code, so I'm excited about this. .44 is saying, my project is inspired by your Laravel skeleton. Oh, seriously, dude? That's awesome, man. Send me the link. I want to see that, man. Maltroy is saying early stream. Let's go, man. Oh yeah, early stream today. We're starting at 7, I think. What time is it? I don't even know the time. It's 7:30. Yeah, we're starting a little bit early. That's awesome, man. Ghoulies, hey man, how you doing? Nice to see you. So .4 is literally sending me the link. I'm gonna open it here on stream. We have here, so this is a project that someone from Twitch just sent it to me. Okay. We just received this link from Twitch, and I'm going to review this project today. I'm seeing a bunch of things already that I do like AI rules. By the way, chat, this is something that on the last live stream, we didn't talk about. Like, literally, the last time we reviewed people's code, we didn't have yet vibe coding rules on the people's projects. So now we have that. We need to talk about that too. Before we start, let's just make sure you guys are aware of the news. Past PHP 4 just came out. Past 4 just came out. If you enjoy testing, if you love browser testing, check it out. Past 4 is amazing. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I released it live at Laravel Live Denmark, and that was a lot of fun. Okay? TDD developer is saying the following. Hi Nuno, I saw the new VS Code plugin for Past. I didn't saw that, no. Can you send me the link? I didn't know that. That's awesome, man. Can you send it to me? So the only Past plugin we have is on documentation, I think, and it's something kind of old. So if I go here to editor setup, here we go. We have this VS Code PHP new test explorer, and we have also this VS Code snippets, but that's it. Nothing else. So send me the link. I want to check it out. Okay. Okay, so what else we have here? Do we have... Yeah, we have also this project from Davey Shikak. Let's copy this link. I appreciate you guys already sending me links to review. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. We have this, what else? Boo. We have this project from Yamdabad. So I'm going to copy the link. By the way, chat, if you send me your project's link, you guys need to be ready to kind of listen to some of my feedback. You know what I mean? Some of my feedback might be a little bit too harsh, but ideally, I'm going to be nice with you all. So you guys can relax a little bit, all right? So we have a bunch of projects already. We should just get started. Do you guys want to start with a community project, or do you guys want to start with Pinkery? Write on the chat if you feel that we should start by reviewing Pinkery.com, which is a project from mine, or we should just start immediately with community projects. Let me know what you think and write that on the chat. I'm literally curious about that. Another one from Mateo's Orange Bank. Let's copy this and put it here too. Get ready to get roasted. Pinkery. All right, let's get started on Pinkery.com. All right, if you don't know, Pinkery.com is a website of me that I have built a couple years ago. Let me just turn off the music here. I'm literally listening Spotify at the moment. I'm going to cut the stream out. Here we go. No music. And now we are on Pinkery.com. So this is Pinkery.com. Is a social media I have built, okay? Is literally a social media I have built. And, this project was built, I think, 12 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. And there is a lot of mistakes on this source code. A lot of mistakes. This is something you guys need to realize is that if you build a project, 2 years from now, for example, you will look back and you will find mistakes. You will find things you didn't do anymore. That's just normal. You guys are evolving with time. You guys are getting better programmers, so that's just normal. Okay, it's kind of expected. And let's just go all the way top and just review myself. Like try to understand the things I did wrong. And obviously, one of the things I did good is making this open source. Okay, making this open source actually allows me to have other people's contributing to this project, which is awesome. And obviously making this open source was a very good idea. Puya-Paul is one of the main contributors at the moment and allows me to basically, have this social media alive with community contributions, which is awesome. One of the things I'm immediately noticing now, and it's one of the main things I notice when I'm jumping to a project, is if he has AI coding rules. You guys know, in 2025, it's very important to have AI coding rules in your projects. Okay, so you want to find .cursors, you want to file .junies, because if you don't have that, typically that means that the developers of the project are not yet up to date with those AI modern standards, you know what I mean? And realistically, if you are not using AI for coding, you are probably 50% slower than me at this point. Because many of the things I do today, I just refer to AI to do it for me, you know what I mean? Jeffrey is saying the following: Nuno, I'm a fan of yours. Do you usually do this every week? I wish to see more. Yeah, man. I love this series of reviewing other people's code. People like it too. So I love to do this, and I'm glad you guys like it too. Ayamdabad is asking, what is the main goal of the Pinkery website? It's just a social media, like literally. It was COVID times. I don't even remember. No, it's not COVID. I was just at home during a weekend, and I decided to build a social media with Livewire, and that was it. Nothing, there is no special reason about it, but for some reason it took off. People actually enjoy it, and they are using it, and it's Pinkery, man. Pinkery.com for the win. Okay, so we go all the way top. And we get to see immediately a description about the project, create the landing page project. That's good, You get to see a description about the project. Ideally, I go all the way down and I see how can I get started? How can I contribute? And that's the first thing I see, which is very good. You want to keep this README up to date with the latest instructions of this social media, which is apparently using PHP 8.3. PHP 8.3 chat, which is not the latest version of PHP, but, it's kind of good. Kind of good. If I have any inside information about Wayfinder, I don't know, man. I don't think I have any information about the Wayfinder at the moment besides what you guys know, Okay, so we have a couple projects more here posted on the chat. Let's just put them here. So we can review them later. I'm going to just copy your guys' projects and put it here on the tabs, okay? Here we go, here we go, here we go. All right, let's talk about Pinguini. PHP 8.3, which is not the latest version of PHP. And probably if I go to the composer.json, I will still find Composer PHP 8.3. And I do. Not the latest version. Ideally, would be on PHP 8.4, chat. Ideally, we would be on PHP 8.4. However, I find installation instructions, this is very important. If a new developer is coming to your team, they can just clone the project, enter in the project, and just immediately understand how they can contribute to this. This is actually a very good thing, and I'm glad that I did it, because now I can have open source contributions from people, okay? Very, very, very important, chat, you know? Have a good README is a very important, and a good one in an up-to-date one. So that's the README. Let's jump into the composer.json to see what we see here, okay? So it's using Filament. Interesting. Using Filament, we are using Filament for the backend, and I think this is for moderation reasons. Basically, if someone makes a post and post gets reported, we are going to find, we are going to literally moderate the post. So if the post is not good, contains bad words or something it shouldn't, we are going to literally review this. By the way, chat, can I enable dark mode? Where do I even do that? Feature preview, that would be it. Let me see. Colorblind themes, what else? I don't want to open everything here. Give me a moment, chat. Let me see if I have dark mode. 1 second, chat. Meanwhile, if you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe my channel and like the video below. Just go all the way down and do that for me, all right? I'm going to move here to chat real quick, and I'm going to see if I can enable dark mode real quick. So appearance. Oh yeah, we have dark mode, chat. What is this? Let's go with this one. Default dark mode. This looks good, chat. Maybe this one. Let's go with this one. So I've enabled a default theme on GitHub. Let's see how it goes. Ooh, goo. Yeah, it looks all right. What do you guys prefer? Let me see. Do you guys prefer the dark one or the white one? Write down the chat if you prefer the light theme or dark theme. I don't even know, honestly. I think I like both. What do you guys think? Dark mode all the way. Oh my god. Hey Diaz, nice to see you. Hey Steelbroke, what's up, man? By the way, I really appreciate everyone from TikTok coming to the chat today. TikTokers, I know, man, I've been out. Basically, you know, TikTok kind of gave me a suspension for, I think, sharing a YouTube video. For that reason. Anyway, it feels good to have you all here, TikTokers. And Twitter, what's up? Beer, Luigi, Amini, nice to see you all, man. Luigi, what's up? Nice to see you too. Okay, so you guys want dark? Okay, we go with dark theme. Let's go with dark theme for this today. Anyways, so again, a good web project typically has a very good README, and ideally I would jump to composer.json to understand a little bit of the dependencies, and just looking into this, we get to see already that he's using Filament. In case you don't know, Filament is an admin panel for PHP and Laravel, really works good, and I'm literally using this for moderating responses. Okay. I'm using as well intervention image. Does any of you know why intervention image is a very good package? It's actually a very important and very good, honestly, PHP package. In case you don't know, this package allows you to play with images, okay? So if you receive, for example, an upload via Laravel, what you can do, well, ideally, I will donate later. Thank you. So what you can do is optimize the image. That's right. The Grimsaw, that's right, dude, allows you to optimize images before you actually preserve them. This is a very important thing because typically people, they may want to upload like 2 megabytes images, but you don't want to store 2 megabyte images in your system. So what you can do is read those images and then kind of optimize them so they get a little bit smaller. You know what I mean? Chat? That's very important, huh? This package is called intervention.io. I'm going to send you the link, chat. I'm going to send you the link so you guys can add this to your toolkit. Okay? Very important, huh? Amin is asking if you can review GS libraries. Of course I can review GS libraries, man. Send me that. This package will help because the images will still have quality. They will be just much smaller, okay? This is actually one of the packages that I use literally all the time. And probably people should just talk more about them because this package is really, really good, honestly. Intervention image, man. Allows you to do so many things like transform images. You can resize images. You can apply transparency. You can do so much shit, honestly. This package is actually, something that should be talked more, basically. Okay. It's not lower quality images. Honestly, in your eyes, the image will look the same, Spatie probably have developed a wrapper on top of this package, which works very good on top of Laravel. You know what I mean? But yeah, we are using this. This package is awesome, and I'm going to just preserve here. Just send me a JavaScript package we are going to review later today too. Anyway, that being said, let's go back to Pinkery and keep working on reviewing this code. So intervention images for images, we are using 45 for a reason I cannot remember anymore. Laravel 12, which is good, latest version. Laravel Nightwatch for logs, very important, chat. Laravel Nightwatch gives you very good insights about your app. And literally, we offer a free tier, and I think I'm using the free tier on this project, okay? Laravel Pennant for feature flags. So every single time I want to enable conditionally a feature, I'm using Pennant. Now, typically you think about feature flags as something that is literally a true or false. However, you need to think that you can with Pennant, you can literally enable features just for admins, for example, or features just for a specific set of users. Like if the user got created after this particular date, you give them this feature. If the user doesn't have that, was created before that, do not enable the feature. On various projects, I remember, for example, on Laravel Vapor, we literally use this all the time. Like we have this very new feature, which we are still a little bit unsure about how stable it is. So what we do is that we would install Laravel Pennant, and then it would basically enable that feature for a specific set of users, okay? That's a very important one. Are you guys using Laravel Pennant? Write on the chat if you guys are using feature flags in your projects, okay? Laravel Socialite, so you can literally log in using social providers, things like GitHub, Google, and many things like that. Oh my God, Jeffrey is saying the following. I use feature flag personally for CDCI, so I can just deploy to prod, whatever, without worrying. Yeah, I feel you. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. Natalia, we have front-end and back-end. This particular project actually have both, meaning that it's a web application, full stack, so we are offering back-end code and front-end code too. I don't know which stack do you use personally for the front-end. On this particular project, we're using Livewire. It's actually the next package we see here. Livewire, in case you don't know, you must know Livewire, I hope. It's just amazing front-end library for PHP development. Really works good without typing a single line of JavaScript. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, let's go, Shad. Device detector. Why would I use this? Why would I use this project called a device detector? It's not even open. That's crazy. Device detector. What is even this? Oh, here we go. Oh, it's for parsing user agents and browsers and which operating system is using. Right, this makes a lot of sense. I cannot remember why I would use this, but it looks awesome. Laravel optimized database for SQLite. That's right, chat. I'm still using SQLite on this project, which you might find crazy, but literally, this project with a bunch of actual web traffic is using SQLite. Or Squeal, if you want to. And SQLite is actually one of my favorite drivers for everything. Caching, just the database itself. Even for sessions, I'm using SQLite. How many of you are using SQLite in production? Write on the chat, I use SQLite in production, or no, if you don't use SQLite in production. I honestly think it's just good for many web projects out there, okay? Pio is saying they used to detect bots. No. Oh, that's probably why we are using that on Pinkery too. Interesting. That's a very good point. Vinny Corsi is asking if Livewire is better than React. It's undeniably a different project, meaning that if you need something a little bit more snappy, a little bit maybe more performant in the front end layer, you probably should go with React. But if you are okay with some round trips, you probably should use Livewire instead, because it's definitely less code than React. You know what I mean? Malmo is saying that he uses Livewire every day. Let's go. Benino would say, I don't even think about SQLite most times. I just use Postgres or MySQL. Interesting. I think, I'm using Postgres a lot of times, but I think just in general, SQLite is actually a very good solution. I feel like in the past, people used to talk about SQLite as something just for dev, but the reality is that SQLite is actually also a very good project, even for production projects, okay? So keep that in mind. Brad is asking if we are dropping some code here. Today, no. Today, we're mostly reviewing code, not actually writing. Writing is something I typically do. And if you don't know me, my name is Nuno Maduro, PHP and Laravel developer. I love what I do. And today, we're actually reviewing Laravel projects. So if you enjoy this type of content, just go all the way down and subscribe my channel, okay? What else this project uses, which might be interesting? I guess that's it in terms of interesting things. We are obviously using the latest and the greatest regarding tooling in PHP. You guys know me. I love this kind of things. Typically what I do is that I go all the way down and I have all this setup, all this tooling that I use all the time, meaning Pint for linting, Rector for refactoring, PHP stand for types. PHP stand is the equivalent of TypeScript, in case you don't know. Past PHP for architectural testing, type coverage, unit testing, and much more. This is a setup I use literally all the time. And I like to also keep my dependencies up to date with this npm check updates, which is something that I use a lot of times. Okay. In Brad, yeah, we are literally reviewing code. It's the next thing we are doing, man. I'm going to jump here into the app folder. Let's just think a little bit. I remember one of the biggest mistakes I did on this source code was using events, man. Here we go. Oh my God. We're going to jump a little bit into the things I don't like. Chat, just forgive me about this piece of code that I'm about to show you, okay? So we have this observers folder, and we have this thing called question observer. Now, this is the most ugly ass code I have ever written in my life. Just watch this. It's just so ugly. If the question have a dirty answer, then you update the question hashtags. If it's dirty, the answer. If it's not dirty, dude, I just absolutely hate events. And this is why, okay? This is the reason why I love actions and I hate events in Laravel apps. It's just because when something is happening, you don't know where that thing is coming from. So if you are listening, for example, for an updated question, you have literally no idea where this update comes from. It might be, for example, just a migration, for example. It might be yourself doing some admin work. You don't know. It might be the actual user. So to that point, what ends up happening is that you have to play with all this dirtiness and literally understand what's happening to perform some actions. Honestly, the worst code I've written in my life. For the updated, for the deleted, for everything, literally. Oh my God. What is this? Just horrible. So chat, always use the action pattern. That's a TLDR. That's a TLDR, man. .44 is saying, totally agree with you. Dude, I totally feel you. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm roasting my own code, which is perfectly fine, I feel like. But we are going to jump into your code soon. We have a bunch of community projects next to review, so that will be fun. That will be super fun. Vinning Corsa is asking the following. How do you handle large traffic using SQLite? So you might find this hilarious, but actually SQLite is able to handle a lot of production traffic. If you actually have a web application that most of its time is just reading things from the database, SQLite is actually a very good solution for it. So if you have a lot of writes, maybe you have to consider and see how it performs. But if you have just readings, it just works, man. You know what I mean? Vincent say you inspiring me a lot. Oh, thank you, dude. Christian is saying, when are you releasing the course, the action pattern? Dude, that's in progress. Okay, that's in progress. Not the actual course, but the website for the mailing list. So literally, we are going to have a website where you guys are going to see the table of contents of the action pattern course, and you can subscribe to the mailing list so you get notified when it comes out. The action pattern course for the win. It's coming out September, early October. It's coming, chat. It's coming. But yeah, even with a lot of writes, exactly, SQLite, even with a lot of writes, it just performs. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. SQLite works very well. Anyways, observers, events in general, just try to avoid them all the time, okay? What else we have here? What is interesting about this source code that I can show you? Okay, so something I probably would do is that on this HTTP layer, let's say, something I would do is use actions instead, which undeniably, because this is Livewire, most of the interactions with the backend are happening actually on Livewire components. So let's open them here for you all. Let's click on app. Let's go to Livewire. And obviously, if you are developing a Livewire application, actions will be called from Livewire components, okay? If you have a regular traditional inertia app, for example, with React and Vue, then we'd have actions on regular controllers. So things we could do here is potentially jump into, let's think a little bit, into questions perhaps, and we can go here into the create component. This is literally like real world code, just a bunch of shit all over the place. But yeah, using Livewire locked attributes, which is kind of cool. This is strictly typed PHP, by the way, chat. Okay, this is literally what modern PHP looks like. When you look at something like this, you can immediately see that this project is using modern PHP. Array generics, okay? In case you don't know, PHP does have generics, okay? You might not see them on actual code, but you find them on annotations that then gets parsed by PHP stan. So, here, for example, on these images, you will find an integer as a key and the uploaded file instance as a value. And it's fully typed, as you can see here, including all the properties just below. This is what modern PHP looks like, by the way. Okay. What else we find here? Yeah, so typically something I would do different on this project is I would probably, on the moment we are actually creating, which is right here, at the very end of this, I would probably call actions, instead of just having all this dirty code happening at this given place, I would just literally, here we go. This is the actual place I would just probably call an action at the very end. Instead of doing all this crap at the end, I will probably just send all of this to an actual action instead of doing it right here. And Jesus Christ, this code is looking ugly at the moment. But, this is what real world code looks, chat. Real world code gets messy. However, we're using something really interesting here. Are you guys familiar with this? Are you guys familiar with something like this? Do you guys know what this does? It's a new Laravel feature. It's a new Laravel feature, chat. That's right. Does anyone knows? Fusion is saying the following. How do you feel about the current way migrations are handled? On large projects, the folder gets kind of chaotic. So typically what I recommend to people is to squash migrations. So once you have a bunch of migrations, you can just squash them into a single file. That's something you can do even on projects that are a little bit old. Okay. So keep that in mind. Davey is saying the following, because they are just actions, nothing specific to the framework. You mean the action pattern? Absolutely, just actions, Amdabad is asking why Laravel docs didn't mention actions, because it's something, again, it's not related to the framework itself. It's just simply a regular class. So you don't even need to have that on the Laravel documentation. You know what I mean? Yeah, so for those of you who don't know what current user does, it's a new Laravel attribute that injects the current logged in user as method injection. Okay? So here, for example, we have this public function store. In this case, is within a Livewire method, but it could be just a regular controller. And what it does is that instead of having you doing something like request user or auth user, you can literally use this current user to get the current injected user or the current logged in user, which is kind of cool. I love it. Honestly, I love it. Yamdabad is saying it's equal to auth user. That's right. Hey, Mateus Jung, it's nice to see you, man. How you doing? How you doing, dude? By the way, chat, if you just arrived, my name is Nuno Maduro, PHP and Laravel developer. I love what I do. Just go all the way down and subscribe my YouTube channel. We have more than 20,000 subscribers on my 20K subscribers on my YouTube channel, and I'm really proud of that. You guys are absolutely awesome. We have amazing videos on my YouTube channel: how to build an app in 30 minutes, full PHP 8.5 review, Filament 4, interviewing Jeffrey Way and Taylor Otwell, and doing also other code reviews. So if you enjoy this kind of content, put a like on the video below, but also, let me know what you think. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so if I were to, let's just move to another project. Again, Pinkery is a project that in general follows modern PHP code. It's fully tested, 100% code coverage. However, if I were to change anything, I would basically not use events and change to actions, so it gets a little bit more smooth and clean. That's the only thing I probably would do on Pinkery. Obviously, update to PHP 8.4, but I guess that's it. Let's move to a different project. Let's now review a community project. So I'm going to close this all, and let's move again to light theme. I kind of don't like the dark theme. I'm going to be honest with you, Shed. I hope you guys forgive me, but the dark theme is actually too dark for me. So I'm going to just go to settings real quick and update the appearance of this project to light default. I hope you guys don't mind, chat. All right, let's go back to coding and just continue to review people's projects, if you guys don't mind, okay? Okay, what do we have here from the community chat today? Okay, apparently we have a Laravel skeleton to start with. Let's review this one, chat. So this is a project from Yemed Yazkubidai, which is a full stack developer freelancer. Okay, a full stack developer freelancer, which is important. The topic around full stack developer is actually an interesting one too. What do you guys think in general about full stack developers? I feel like we may have full stack developers, and I have definitely see a few of them. At Laravel, we do have full stack web developers. I think like in general, to be a full stack web developer, you need to be good at obviously HTML, CSS, JavaScript, be good with React or Livewire, but also at the same time be able to, provision a server using something like Laravel Forge and be able to start a Laravel project from scratch. And it doesn't. I don't feel it has to be DevOps. That's the question. You know what I mean? Because a full stack developer in general, it just basically developed regular Laravel applications, and I don't think it has to be a DevOps. You know what I mean? Hey, Andres Silva, welcome, man. First time on TikTok? Are you serious? Well, welcome, man. Happy to see another developer here on TikTok here with us today. That's awesome, man. If you guys want to see your project be reviewed, the only thing you have to do is publish the link on the chat, okay? By the way, for those who want to see the Pinkery source code, I'm going to share with you the pinkery.com repo, fully open source, okay? Fully open source. Here we go. Sharing the link with you all. Here we go. Pinkery.com, fully open source, and let me know what you think. Let's review now community contributions, community projects, and let's see how it goes. This is actually a very important thing I want to speak with you about before actually diving into code. You guys should do everything public, okay? I know a bunch of developers who don't simply open source stuff because they think they will be roasted online, or people will look at their code. Honestly, nobody cares. Nobody except me will actually go to your repo and see your code. So honestly, just do everything public and ask your people's opinions so they can review your code and you can get very good insights, okay? Anyways, let's just jump into this. This is obviously a fresh Laravel project. Is a skeleton. He included the skeleton word on the project name, which immediately tells me that this is something that is to start a new Laravel app. I go all the way down and I expect to see how to do that. Here we go. Project installation, very good. I immediately know how to get started. I get to see composer install, npm install, environment variables, blah, blah, blue, and bam. It's just right there. I can just make it work real quick locally. This is perfect. We do see as well a few things here which are interesting, kind of how architecturally I expect this project to be built. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Let's read some of this today. So architectural design principles, controllers, and then commands or query patterns. Okay, I think he meant, this is actions, by the way. The action pattern has multiple names out there, and one of them is actually commands. So every single time you see commands or sometimes even command buzz, they actually meant the action pattern. That's it. Okay. Okay. Semex is saying the following. Noon recommended me that in the past. What exactly? If you what? What do you mean exactly? Sunil is saying the following. I'm not sure what Nuno means by that, but the seeder should see the latest version of the database. People actually talk about seeders not in the correct way always, in the sense that... Seeders, on the traditional sense in Laravel, they meant to seed the database in the development locally, just for local purposes. You know what I mean? That's what seeders are about. However, if you actually need production data, things like your very first category or your very first article type, and those things can be dynamic in production, then you probably want to actually move those inserts to a DB table facade and insert them as a regular part in your migrations. You know what I mean? So this is just what I think. Anyways, let's go back to reviewing some code right after checking the chat here on Twitch. People on Twitch are absolutely awesome, literally talking all the time. I love you all, and I absolutely love that. Okay? Hey, Adrian, nice to see you, dude. It's been a while, man. It's been a while. Someone just sent me a link, another link to review. We have just like 20 projects to review, so how bad this could go. Anyways, so this review is actually interesting because it contains some, architectural design principles people probably should use in your projects. Let's just read this all together. So controllers, a theme, a coordination layer for HTTP requests. Yeah, I kind of like this. Again, controllers should be responsible for validating data thanks to form requests and then dispatch that data to actions just like normal. I don't necessarily agree with spaCy Laravel data for DTOs. I've been seeing a lot of people pitching spaCy Laravel data for DTOs. I personally don't see the reason why I would use a package for something that simple. I love spaCy. I love Freak. Is one of my biggest friends ever. But personally, using a package for just a DTO, write on the chat, why would I do that? Like, write on the chat if you use Laravel data. And why do you think I would use something like that instead of just a regular class with all my DTOs? I get confused, chat. I literally get confused. But I don't know. Geopazinas from TikTok is asking, which hosting do you use for your Laravel projects? I use something called Laravel Cloud, okay? Cloud.laravel.com is actually a project that I've built, and it's awesome, and that's what I use for my Laravel apps. Asan is saying the following. You would use Laravel data from spaCy for strict types, validated data, and optional parameters. Well, you can have all of that in your class constructor. I don't know, man. I mean, let's open Laravel data real quick, but I don't think there is anything I don't know. Let's see. Maybe I'm confused and I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Well, GG. GG. Now I know why I would use Laravel data immediately. I just read generate TypeScript definitions. Okay, well, that's something probably makes sense, and it's already a reason why I would use Laravel data, in the sense that it apparently generates TypeScript definitions from that DTOs, which probably makes a lot of sense if you have an inertia front end. Interesting. Like immediately, the first thing I read just explained it, like literally why this package exists. Automatically resolve validation rules from properties within the data object. Oh, gotcha. So basically, you just define this, and this will generate the form request. Okay, chat. We need definitely a feature or a stream that will dive into Laravel data, because obviously there is a few things that are interesting. Okay. Anyways, commands or actions that receive DTOs, which might or may not be from Laravel data, queries for, this is pretty much what I defend on all my streams, okay, apparently. Authorization, I'm not a fan of policies, but I get it, SPACY permission for role-based access control. I also build my own RBAC, but I do understand why they are using SPACY permission. What else do I see here? Let's dive into the code itself. Okay, let's dive into the code itself. Maybe start with the composer.json to see which set of dependencies are we using on this skeleton. And again, this is a skeleton. Okay, apparently it's a very opinionated skeleton, but it's a skeleton. Okay. Yeah, Laravel data honestly feels good. Feels good. I do have to dive into it to actually try it locally. Okay. Josh UK is asking if I use Mailcoach. I absolutely use Mailcoach. Yes, I use Mailcoach for my sending emails, basically. Okay, that's what I'm doing. Wayfinder will replace this in the future. Oh, it will. Okay. That's awesome. Okay, Filament 4 already on this package. So Filament 4 came out like literally 1 week ago, already being used on this project. PHP 8.4, which is the latest version. Laravel data with a bunch of Laravel's related SPACY packages, including permissions, which, doesn't seem too much. I kind of like this, okay? Laravel IDE helper, by the way, this is something that if you are not using this already, like what the heck are you even doing, okay? For PHP Storm development, honestly, this is actually a very good helper. Comes with a bunch of annotations that you probably want to reuse in your Laravel packages, okay? Laravel IDE helper, that's awesome. What else? Larastand, which is a project of mine. Laravel Boost, which, by the way, in the latest stream, we tried Laravel Boost. It was kind of, infinite loops, but that's fixed by the PHP Storm team. Collision, PHP Stamp, Rector, all of this looks amazing. It doesn't have browser testing yet, which is something I probably would just add to my default skeleton. Browser testing is something amazing. It's working fantastically. Was kind of overwhelming, the reaction from people. I love it. It's probably something I would add here is the browser testing plugin. This is pretty much how I do things, pretty much how Pinkery has its own composer.json setup in terms of tooling. Again, Pint, Rector, PHP Stan, all this modern tooling being used here on this project. That's absolutely awesome. Again, this is, whoops, what's happening here? Here we go. This is actually good. Probably comes from Boost. Okay, but it's actually something that I look now all the time, every single time I jump into a new project is, do we have AI rules on this project? And if we do, that means this project is up to date to the latest standards. Again, if you are not using AI in 2025, you probably should, okay? Yansim, what's up, dude? Nice to see you, man. How you doing? I'm going to grab the AC real quick. Wait a moment, chat. Just one moment. I'm back, chat. Oh my God. We have literally 1,000 messages from YouTube. Samas is asking the following: how you handle migration squashing when you have data insertion on prod? That's a great question. that's a great question. You literally have to move all these insertions to the very first migration of the squashed project. Okay, so the squash project will have basically only the squash SQLite file or squeal file, and then we'll have one single migration to insert the very first data on that project. That's the way it works, you know what I mean? By the way, chat, if you like this kind of content, if you enjoy reviews, just go all the way down and like this video, okay? If you guys really enjoy this video, this type of content, be sure to subscribe my channel. I would really appreciate if you guys could do that for me. You guys are awesome, but you have to do that. That's important so I can literally understand if people like this kind of content, okay? Not everyone uses Laravel IDEA. I get it. I totally get it. I do use it though. You're welcome, Samax. All right, so AI, one of the very first folders, all the way top, making sure you're using AI in 2025. That's important. Let's click on app to see what we have here. Holy shit. As a skeleton, that's a lot of, opinionated things to have, but I'm okay with it, okay? Again, I probably would name this folder actions, and apparently he is naming these folders commands, and he's calling these action classes just commands, which is okay. The command pattern is actually very similar to the action pattern, okay? Ooh, okay, here is something that I don't do anymore. I personally don't see a reason why we have these annotations, okay? So again, I still keep this annotation all the way top. However, having annotations for arguments when the typing literally gives you that, there is no reason for this, So here, for example, we have parameter string with the username, which is the user's username, and then I go all the way down and I see exactly that. So in 2025, I feel you guys should just go to this kind of things and just remove these comments. Let me know what you think on the chat. This is just my opinion. I don't see a reason why I would just have a bunch of this. Again, if you are adding value to the comments, meaning that you are adding things such as, generic types or generic information, you can literally have those, but if you are just copy pasting the same type of type, there is no reason for that. Absolutely no reason. Technically, there is no reason for the comment too. Honestly, you could just remove all of this. Like, to be realistic, if you look today is modern Rust code or modern Go code or any kind of modern language, they never use comments. Like, literally. They never use comments on top of functions. And like, this is something that I'm still struggling a little bit because I like to have this small comment all the way top. But at some point, I just have to be realistic with myself and just stop adding them. They don't make any sense, basically. Ooh, Adrian just said the following: comments are a code smell. Ooh, that's a heavy thing to say, dude. That's a heavy thing to say, man. Yeah, undeniably comments like this one. I mean, not all comments are bad, but comments like this one, they just make the code bigger, This is literally tokens that the AI will have to parse. Probably makes your AI coding a little bit more expensive. You know what I mean? By the way, chat, today I went to the gym. I did some muscle work right there. Don't forget, chat, if you guys spend the day working in your desk, get your ass on the gym every single day. A stronger body means a stronger mind. Don't forget that. That's important for working and be like, super productive. Go to the gym. That's important, okay? PHP doesn't make muscles. That's right. Okay, so for example, let's go all the way down. Let's see what we have here, okay? So create user command with a bunch of those. You have the rules. Again, this is probably something that comes from Laravel Spatie, I think, or very likely comes from Laravel Spatie, but Laravel Spatie, like Laravel data, I mean. But typically, my actions. This feels like a DTO, honestly. This is a DTO. This is not an action. This is a DTO, indeed. Let's go here to commands. I'm so confused, Chad. Okay, this is definitely something that feels wrong or weird in the sense that, so, this is a DTO, so receives the username, the email, but if I close this, I go to DTOs folder, but I also find another DTO, which undeniably just feels, I don't know, confusing a little bit. I don't know why he did this. What does it mean foundation though? Base data? Okay. Yeah, undeniably here, I'll probably, have a single DTOs folder, and this commands folder just feels weird, just in general. Okay, I don't know. Maybe there is something into it, but something I do not understand, at least for the moment. An enums folder. Let's jump into that. You have a user status. This is very good, chat. Use enums in 2025 PHP code. They are actually very useful. Using public functions on enums. This is something very important too. You can literally have regular functions in your enums and they will just work. And it's lovely. You can literally just come here and type, I want the active status, and then you just chain label and you get literally the string responsible for that label. It's lovely. I love it. Also the color if you want to. It's just beautiful. Beautiful shit. Yeah, I would just make it a little bit clear, like, what is the difference between these two folders, commands and DTOs. Besides that, looks good. Oh, yeah. That's not a code smell, right, Adrian? Honestly, match statements on enums. Oh, yeah, baby. This is what I'm all into this kind of stuff. Match statements in public functions on enums. Lovely. Joseph is saying comments are good for teams, not this type of comments. Okay? Let's be realistic, Chad. Let's just copy this, okay? And I'm going against a little bit myself because I also write some of these comments myself, but let's just be realistic, okay? Let's go here to enums and let's create all together a user status enum.php, okay? Why the hell we need this comment? Let's just think a little bit. Let's be pragmatic and just think a little bit. Like, why the hell we need this comment? We have literally a public function label on the user status enum. Why the hell do we need this? We don't need this. Okay? For the team, I would get this. I don't need this. So realistically, we can just do this. Okay? And do this too. We don't need those comments. This one you might need to, and actually gives you some value. So here, for example, what I would do is this, but I would remove this too. Okay? Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Okay? No comments. No comments. Let's jump a little bit to filament folder because we have talked a little bit about filament and the way filament is being used. Let's jump into HTTP controllers and see some of this. So we have the user controller. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so what can we find here? So obviously, strict types all the way top. Make your PHP code strongly typed. That's a very important thing to have. And I'm glad we are seeing that here too. We go all the way down and we see final and read-only classes. This is something that, it doesn't actually bring too much value, but if this guy is using this all the time in every single class he has in his project, I do get it for the sake of consistency. So final read-only classes, I'm okay with that. It's actually something I'm okay with that, okay? Davey is saying, I hate final classes with a passion. So why do you hate final classes? Like, what is the actual problem of final classes? There is no problem at all. And realistically, like, let's just think a little bit. Let's copy this. Let's copy this and go to PHP Storm here. It's not, I have actually jumped into some legacy code where I would find stuff like this. Class, like, I don't know, guest user controller extends user controller. I have I have jumped into some legacy code that had stuff like this. Honestly, extending controllers is worse than the red flag. It's probably the worst thing in the entire programming world, extending controllers, okay? So I don't know, man. I feel like you are kind of making a statement in the sense that, okay, people should literally not extend this no matter what. And if you just literally add this all the time, maybe people will just not do it, you know? But I have seen crap like this, honestly. I have seen crap like this in the past. Adrian is saying the following. My code only used protected and public, never final. Yeah, I'm okay with that, honestly. I don't really care. And I think like you do that because you are not doing crap like that, extending controllers anyway. But on the regular open source project, like on actually open source code, I do like to keep my things final and read-only because the last thing I want is people to hijack my library and accessing some internals and doing some crap. In open source, that happens all the time. I can tell you that. Asan is asking, what is your take on lack of generics in PHP? What is my take? What is my take on lack of generics in PHP? I would love to see them. And I think generics are coming to the PHP world. I don't know if you have noticed, but that is actually an ongoing progress development in generics in PHP. So this was last year, but there is actually an RFC that was just done 1-2 weeks ago, and they are literally preparing generics to the PHP world. I think, like in general, I would love to have generics. I don't know the form. I wish the form would be just partial support for generics, like we have seen on Go, for example, and hopefully we are going to get some of that on the PHP world. Poor generics, I know. Well, Adrian, if I'm using final classes, we'll have to refer to some sort of invade function, indeed. Yeah, George, nice to see you. By the way, chat, if you just arrived, my name is Nuno. Today we are reviewing people's projects. Literally, some of you guys send me a link, and then I'm just reviewing your project here on the stream. If you enjoy this sort of content, just go all the way down and subscribe my channel, my YouTube channel. I'm literally streaming Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and now I'm streaming more than ever. I will have literally 6 months of work ahead of me, just live streaming all the time and just making great content from my YouTube channel. If you like this, just be sure to give me a follow. What else do we have here? We have a user controller that lists all of the users, and it's actually using something I use all the time, query classes, which is literally a way of encapsulating queries. I use literally this all the time, chat, all the time. What else we find here is returning JSON responses, which typically tells me that it's using some sort of React front end. Something I'm confused, though, is that this is probably just an API. Because a React front end would use inertia. Inertia would use React server-side components, meaning that this is probably just a web API. So let me click here on the Laravel skeleton. Do I find API word? And I do. It's a starting point for building Laravel APIs. Yeah, basically returning JSON in Laravel apps, it's typically something you would only do on APIs, because if you are serving React frontends, for example, you would just use inertia as a protocol between the backend and the frontend. But if you're returning just JSON, it probably means that this is just an API, which is the case. Davey is saying that get user query is actually the request input, not a SQL query. Oh, really? I'm sleeping at the moment. It doesn't seem to be that. Let's see. What is this? Query. Interesting. Let's go to the query folder real quick. Let's click here on queries and jump into this get users query. Oh, it's literally a request class, you mean? This must be something related to Laravel data and how Laravel data resolves things from requests. It might be that. I may have to jump into this stuff real soon. Yamdabad is saying, I use JSON in Ajax requests. Oh, you do? The thing is that, just in general, I feel like returning JSON is something we don't see a lot these days. Because if you have a React frontend or a Vue frontend, you typically would use inertia. If you are developing a modern application, at least with Laravel, you probably would just use inertia. But I feel like, I get why would you use something like a JSON, but for APIs, okay? That's just my feeling. Okay, what else can we find here? We find models, of course. The user model only, which is a filament user, is something we have learned literally on the last stream, that filament user defines an interface who can access to your filament backend. Tokens, because we have an API, those tokens are coming from Passport, which is important. Here we go. Here we go. Passport being used for being able to communicate with the API. Fillables, which I typically something I don't use a lot, or none actually. I don't use filament on Laravel, fillables on Laravel models. And casts at the very end, which all of them are correct, it seems. Yeah, nothing crazy on this Laravel model, it seems. Let's go back into transformers. What is this? Again, something coming from Laravel data. We have absolutely to dive into Laravel data to see how it shapes the structure from your Laravel app. Absolutely. Tukia is asking if I just unguard everything. I do, yes. I basically unguard all of my models. I don't even set guarded equals to an empty array. I literally just unguard everything. Davey is saying, if you want to dive into Laravel data, that is something else now, which is back value objects. Let's open that real quick. Back immutable value objects for PHP. What is this? Okay, this is something we can probably review too when we are diving into Laravel data in some of the next streams. Okay, so what is the final review or the final note for this Laravel skeleton? Honestly, it looks opinionated. It looks general overall, a 9 out of 10, I feel. Obviously, a lot of AI rules on top of every single, on top of the structure directory. We get to see as well how some of these controllers are organized in the very organized way too. It's using Laravel data, which is something that literally shapes how you organize your application structure on top of DTOs. So that's awesome too. And yeah, it's using past PHP, all of the modern tooling I love. This is actually good stuff, honestly. Good skeleton here. So congratulations to Ahmed Alzubiadi. Nice to see this project, man. Thank you for submitting this link. Clap, 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 clap. What else can we find here? Let's jump now into Bacon headquarters. Ooh, what can we see here? So this is a project with the name Bacon headquarters. Bacon headquarters, okay? So I'm going to go all the way down. And the first thing I see is that this is a Laravel app, okay? Something important is that you don't change how your Laravel app is structured, okay? Wait, what? Refresh? What do you mean? How about extending models? It's not a good idea. Don't do that. It's not a good idea to extend models, chat. Just don't. Can we all agree on that? Can you guys write on the chat that it's not a good idea to extend models? So I'm sure it's not a good idea. Please, for God's sake. You guys get why it's a bad idea to extend models, right? Like, inheritance in general is a bad idea. But extend models is even worse. See, I don't see a reason why you would ever do that. Don't do that. That's not good. It's not a good idea. No. It's a bad idea in 99% of the cases. Tell me, like, the remaining 1%, though, Adrian. Honestly, like, why would you do that? I would never do that. No. Just in general, like when you think about models, let's just go here, for example. Let's try to come up with an example where it would make sense to extend models, right? So we have, for example, the class user, which is the model. So extends the Laravel model thing. We have a class team, for example. And we have a class article, okay? The user belongs to a team. The article belongs to... Let's put here something else. Let's just do this, actually. So the article belongs to the user. The user may have multiple articles. What would be the case for inheritance here? You know? A user with a special role? What do you mean? Like, if the user have a role, that will be basically just a new table role, or a new column role or whatever on the user. You know? The user would just have a role, like a normal role on the database. That's it. I don't get it, chat. Write on my Twitter. I'm going to send you my Twitter, and you guys are going to explain me why would you have, extend the user because of a scope or whatever. Because literally, you can have roles. Like, I don't get it. Maybe the author is just a regular user, but with more props. What do you mean? So you would just do this? I don't think you realize, like, when you say something like user, because you are using active record, this user is related to a user's table. You know what I mean? Anyway, if you guys can explain me why would you ever do this on Twitter, I would really appreciate that. So let's just do that for now. It's going to be a bad day if you are going to extend models, exactly. Anyways, let's jump into this. Okay, Bacon headquarters. And let's just review this right now, okay? What can we see here? Obviously, it's using Juni. That's important. And this commit was done 1 hour ago. So AI rules on top of this. Seeing also GitHub workflows, meaning that you are using GitHub Actions for this. That's important. Using a CI that runs your test suite. Okay, that's important. Then we have your app directory. So regular Laravel app all the way down, and I go all the way down to see some of the README. I get to see what is a project description, and I get also to see the installation process. This is important. Literally able to run this locally and get your app running locally, okay? So this is a feature management platform for Laravel. It's literally an open source feature management platform built specifically for Laravel apps using Pennant. Interesting. So basically gives you control over feature flags. So you can have Pennant like in your Laravel app, and with this project, you can literally act on those feature flags. Interesting. Let's see the composer.json to see how many dependencies are we dealing with, what we do have here. So looking at this, I get to see a bunch of Spatie packages, which is something that we see a lot of times, honestly. I feel like Spatie is a great package provider, and they have a lot of very good packages for Laravel development. And we do see that all the time, honestly. We do see that all the time. Okay, so Spatie is a very good source of packages for Laravel. If you search for Laravel Spatie on Google, you will find, obviously the Spatie organization, but they have like just a bunch of various different Laravel packages that I literally use all the time. Many of them are, for managing images, for example. The media library, for example, is one of them. The query builder is a classic one. Basically allows you to build queries in a very fashion way, in a very good way. I love it too. Laravel permission, of course. A browser shot, of course, and many more. Okay? Many more. By the way, chat, if you just arrived, be sure to follow me on YouTube. Okay? I'm trying to reach whatever number I'm reaching for, but just give me a follow on YouTube and make sure you like this video if you appreciate this type of content. Shishiko, thank you so much for subscription tier 1, man. 9 months in a row. You are absolutely awesome. And, you guys know, man, you are supporting my work all the time, and I really appreciate that. Let's jump here into this project we are reviewing at the moment. Again, Beacon headquarters, and we are jumping into the composer.json to see how many dependencies are we dealing with. And it's using inertia, which is interesting. It's the first project today we are reviewing using inertia. Using inertia is awesome. Allows you to have this back end working with your front end of preference, either that be React or Vue. And inertia is a great protocol to work with in the betweens. Okay? In the betweens, is using also archtech enums. What is this? What is archtech enums? Helper for making collection of enum helpers of PHP. Interesting. Apply a trait to your current enum. Okay, so we would use this. And then using static calls to get primitive values. And that's it. So this basically makes all the cases invocable, so you don't have to call the value method on enums. All right, chat. I think what this package is doing, it might not be the only thing this package is doing, but one of the things this package is doing is that, so I'm going to go back into the user status code. Let's go back here. Okay. Oof, not this. All right, let's write real quick an enum. So let's just type here user status, which looks like this. If you type something like composer require, and then you include this package with the name, boom, there we go. If we require this package, and then apparently you include this small trait, which has the name invocable cases, this will give you this nice API, which I'm still yet to decide if it's a nice API. So you just type user status active. And if you want to have the value, obviously you do this. This is regular PHP. This will give you active. But with this package, you can actually call active as a method to get active too. This is typically, I don't know if this package is giving you a little bit more than this, but if your selling point is this, I would never require a package just for this. Okay? Probably this package is doing more, and I want to believe this package is doing more. We can review that real quick. But just in general, chat, just in general, this is my advice to you, is that if you find a package that just saves you a few characters, that provides you not that much value versus the existing stuff, it's a red flag. Just do not include it, because typically that's a maintenance burden you'll have to carry with you. You'll have to make sure that package support the latest PHP versions, that package support the latest Laravel version too. Just in general, do not include the package just for one particular small reason like this. What do you guys think? 100%. Well, that's a good one. Just in general, just like Adrian is saying, having less dependencies is always a good thing, especially when you are starting with programming. When you are starting as a programmer, something you might do all the time is just include dependencies nonstop. Okay, and you want to be real careful with that. The less dependencies your project have, the better, basically. And you will kind of agree with me once you actually are starting to update your project dependencies. So you want to update to the latest PHP version without having to be concerned of all the small packages you are including. And that's probably the reason why sometimes in a JavaScript community you type npm update and your entire project blows up. And the reason is because many of these packages you are including, if not all of them, they include 50 other dependencies. And those 50 other dependencies include other 50 other dependencies for very small things. So in general, just try to avoid including a package just for a small reason like this. I'm not saying is the case for this package, and I want to believe that is other reasons why would you would use this package. And apparently that is, as you can see here, provides you, if you include this straight with the name names, you can literally quickly grab all of the values using the static method names, which is something I do a lot of times, to be honest. And I feel that is many more other features that probably would make you use this package. But just in general, be mindful that you want to avoid including a package just for a small reason, okay? Ooh, Louis Eek is saying something really interesting. Dude, I do agree with you all the time. So I'm going to literally copy this message I just had on YouTube that says the following. Sometimes it's better to copy paste the code from the package. And there is like a Go convention, a little copy, let me see if I can find it, is better than a little dependency. Here we go. So this is a Go proverb, which I don't know if you have seen this. Little copy. Here we go. This is something that when I have first learned about Go, I literally did Go streams here, but that was not the first time I have actually done Go in my life. And there is literally a proverb that says the following about Go. A little copying is better than a little dependency. And this is so true. Sometimes you are jumping into a small package, and if you just want a tiny functionality and you have access to that method functionality, just copy paste it and put it in your project. Because if we are talking about 3-4 lines of code, like why would you include a dependency because of that? Okay, let's just tweet this, chat. Let's tweet this because this is tweety worth, Let's go here, chat. Let's go here and give it a tweet, chat, for everyone, so everyone can learn with us. Let's make it lowercase so it looks more sexy. A little copying is better than a little dependency. Here we go. Here we go, chat. Oh my God, I wish someone would have told me this when I was young, man, and jumping into the programming world. A little copying is better than a little dependency. Absolutely love it. Such a great way of thinking about things. Anyways, let's keep reviewing this code project. What we have here. What is this? Ramsey conventional commits. Interesting. What is this dependency? I'm always learning, chat. Like always learning. This is a PHP library that does the following. Is for creating and validating commit messages according to conventional commit specifications. Ooh, interesting. I'm already picturing myself doing a past plugin for this. Jesus Christ. So what it does, let's see. So you type this, and then you can also validate the... I want to try this real quick. Jesus Christ, it looks cool. All right, let's go here and do this. Let's remove actually this file. Let's type composer require this. Here we go. That's a lot of dependencies. Jesus Christ. Well, it's a dev package, so I guess we don't care. All right, cool. What else? Then I type this. The following prompts will help you to create a commit message that follows the conventional commits. What type of change are you committing? This is a shore, right? What is the scope of this change? Component or file name? Composer, I guess. Write a short description of the change. Well, I have added the conventional commit package. Provide a longer description of the change. Well, I don't want to provide a longer description. That's it. Is there any breaking changes? No. Will this change affect any open issues? No. Would you like to add any footers? No. Interesting. So this gives me like the message, literally the message I'm about to commit. Okay, so I would just do this, type git commit -m, and then just copy paste this and push it. Not bad. That's an interesting package, chat. What do you guys think? That's an interesting package. Honestly, you know, not crazy, not like whoa, but not bad. What do you think? Charlie French Boy is saying it's too long. I prefer whip. Tony, you is saying Laravel is the best from TikTok. What's up, dude? Welcome to the live stream. Nice to see you. Wait, what? It must be something more into this package. Oh, we have the validate. So basically, you can just copy paste the commit message and validate it. So I assume, like, if I do this and I validate whip, this will give me like not good. Okay, but if I type fit whip, this will give me good. Interesting. Yeah, not bad. Oh, you can literally use Captain Hook action. Okay. All right. So I'm going to explain this to people because people may not be aware of it, okay? In case you don't know, there is something called git hooks, okay? And the git hooks allows you to basically execute some command every single time you are, for example, git committing something. And on this case, apparently, we can literally hook into Captain Hook action and add this small command, which will validate the message we are about to commit. And this will basically do it automatically. This is actually interesting. It could be potentially something I would use myself. I don't know. Interesting package, chat. Let's clap for this interesting package. Yeah, not bad, huh? Not bad, not bad. Do you use Livewire or React in Vue.js? I use 3. I use all of them, man. Davey Shaki is saying that if I look into the Captain Hook configuration, I will actually find this. So you are actually using this. Interesting. Makes a lot of sense, man. Honestly, makes sense that you are using this. I appreciate conventional commits is something I use a lot of the time. And actually, all of my commits are based on this. In case you don't know, chat, there is this little thing called conventional commits that kind of, requested you to use this sort of convention for commit messages, okay? So I'm going to just copy paste this to you all here so you guys can learn too. I love that we are reviewing code from you guys and we are just literally learn together. Let's just clap for this moment, chat. For this specific moment where we are literally learning all together. I'm finding a new package. We are talking about Captain Hook. We are talking about conventional commits. Isn't this a beautiful moment? Like all of us here today learning about PHP, modern development. Let's clap for everyone here today because we are literally making progress in our careers doing this kind of stuff. And you will be surprised, man. You will be surprised. Not a lot of developers do what we are doing today, okay? Most of you guys, there is obviously a bunch of real world professionals with here on the chat today, but it is also some of you that are literally learning, you know? Many of you are just learning, coming to this space today, coming to this world of programming, and honestly, just being among some of us here will make you a better developer. I can promise you that, okay? Why not leverage this load on the IDE? Well, actually, I love not to depend on any IDE, Luis Franco. If I'm honest with you, I try to avoid IDE's features all the time. Things like GitHub UIs, for example, giving you a UI for commits, I try to avoid using the IDE. I just refer to the terminal all the time. Many of the things you may find on IDEs, I try to use a terminal for that. Because, you know, IDEs, they come and go. And if you can use a terminal for those things, they just work. You know what I mean? Obviously, PHP Storm gives you a bunch of very good features that you want to use, but it's always good to know how to do things from the terminal, okay? It's always a good thing, okay? Watching you make all developers, PHP developers, better developers. Thank you, thank you. Being with you guys also making me a better developer for sure. PHP Storm is behind on AI features. You think so? I mean, I'm using GitHub Copilot plus Junie. It's working good. That's what I feel, you know. It's working good. GitHub Copilot for code auto-completion on PHP Storm. I'm also using Junie for, now with Boost, it's just perfect. So I'm very happy with PHP Storm these days. So he's using Junie, which is interesting, with guidelines and MCP. All of this, by the way, all of this shit is now published thanks to Boost. Make sure you are using Laravel Boost if you are using Laravel in your projects in general. Laravel Boost gives you this very nice AI experience. So that's good. How about GitHub Desktop? I actually use GitHub Desktop too for kind of reviewing before pushing everything. Most of the times I use a terminal, but I also refer to the GitHub Desktop to kind of have an overview of the change I'm about to push. Samax is saying the following: I know it's not on the topic, but I would love to figure out how could I leverage PEST to preview email templates in Hurt Email and run tests against them. It's a good point. Currently, you can use browser testing for visual div testing, for UI testing. However, for email, we don't have anything yet. By the way, we have 150 concurrent people watching this stream today. Thank you so much for you all for being there on that side. Twitch, YouTube, just those two platforms makes 150 people. So I really appreciate you guys being there. If you enjoyed this video, go all the way down and put a like on this video. Subscribe my channel, chat. You have to do that. It's a very important thing. Let's click on app and see some of the things this project is doing. Do we have actions? We don't have actions. Okay, that's fine. Maybe this guy doesn't like actions. That's perfectly fine. Let's click on HTTP controllers to see what we are dealing with here. So obviously, we have inertia. Okay, so I expect component or inertia components to be returned from these controllers. Let's click on application controller to see exactly what we find here. Exactly. Inertia components being returned from these controllers, which is perfectly fine. This is exactly what I would expect. This is what I do have on Laravel Cloud, for example. Okay, we don't find comments on these functions, which is okay too. We talked about this today. We kind of need to get rid of these comments in the PHP world. PHP developer, you need to move on, man. Move on. Not use comments anymore. They don't make any sense. I probably should start using them too. And then we have this application service for fetching applications. Okay, so basically behind this application service is probably using Eloquent to fetching all of the applications. What do I have to say about this? I guess, I'm a little bit against the name service in general. I feel like the name service is a little bit used for everything. I would probably, I'll probably not even use service here to begin with, but if I would have to encapsulate anything, I probably would use the query name. The queries folder with some queries behind the scenes. In one of them would just query all the applications. But if you plan to use this kind of application service class just for this particular reason, and everything else where, we would fetch things like this would be on a services folder, that's fine, okay? The most important thing, chat, is consistency, okay? Do not forget about this. So as a new developer coming for this source code, something I really want is being able to read this and then go to a different feature and find the code exactly in the same way, structured in the same way, in the very organized way, with the same naming, with the same, arguments organization, with the same redirect responses, with the same structure for gates, with the same structure for, things like this. So I would expect to find the same style of code all the time, okay? How about the repository pattern? I don't see the value of the repository pattern because the repository pattern defends that typically you want to encapsulate the repository layer, okay? So in the future, you can change it. That's what the repository pattern is about. However, with Laravel, you can literally swap the repository layer on the configuration, meaning that with Eloquent, you can literally just go there and say, I want to change from MySQL to Postgres or to another provider. And that's how you change a repository layer. Therefore, the reason why you would use repository pattern, especially on Laravel, is just not there. Let me know what you think on the comments, because I'm literally curious about that. Yeah, exactly what Agent is saying. The repository pattern in Laravel, it doesn't make any sense because you are kind of replacing what Eloquent is doing. This is something a little bit difficult to grasp for non-Laravel people. But, you know, again, the repository layer, the whole goal of the repository layer is having this intermediary layer between your controller and your models that will encapsulate where you store things, okay? So basically, if you want to change layers in the future from MySQL to Postgres, for example, you can just go there and say, all right, I want to change from MySQL to Postgres. However, because you end up using models anyways on repositories, you can just do this on the configuration layer, you know? Eloquent already gives you the repository layer. That's something that people just don't understand. So I'm glad you guys understand this. So congratulations for you all. You guys are good, man. You guys are good. I appreciate that. That's good. You know, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to jump into this services folder because I want to see because I was just looking at this right now, and apparently he's using this application service to get all the applications, but also the same application service to create applications. Typically, this is what the repository layer does. So let's go into this folder and see exactly what we find here, okay? So let's go here into the services layer, and let's click on this application service. Exactly. Yep. Okay. Let me open this real quick. Let me open here the repositories layer. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, the only thing I would do here, man, is just delete this folder. I'm going to be honest with you. I would just move this stuff. You see this? You see this code right here? And also this code right here? The only thing I would do here is just move this code directly to this place. Okay? That's the only thing I would do here. Is that you see the code that you have within application repository create? I would move that code to this place right here because you don't need that layer. That's an extra layer. It's an extra layer of complexity that doesn't do anything really. So I'm kind of okay with the fact that you are kind of mixing queries with the action pattern, okay? So this is your action pattern. This is your query pattern because where you are fetching things, you know? However, what I'm not okay with is you having this class. So what I would do here is move the code that you find on this class and just put it right here, okay? It's an unneeded dependency, in my opinion. So I want you guys to write on the chat, what do you think about this? Boney, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. By the way, I speak against myself. I have done repository layer multiple times in the past. Multiple times. To then come up with, you know, based on real world experience, that it doesn't make any sense. By the way, chat, today we are live streaming to TikTok, Twitch, Kick, Twitter, and YouTube. I love you all. If you like this type of content, make sure to put a like on the video, on my YouTube video if you can. My YouTube video, that's the way I get feedback from you guys. If you appreciate this type of content, reviewing your code, be sure to like the video and subscribe my channel too if you can. Hey, Uncle Yunus, nice to see you, man. Welcome to the stream, man. Nice to see you. Samuel is saying the following. Hi, Nuno. Do you use PSR 12? Yes, I do. I want to make some coding standards for AI. Do you have any recommendation using Cloud Code? Try Laravel Boost. So Laravel Boost comes with a bunch of AI conventions. So probably you can have all of them just by typing Boost install. Andrew is asking if I usually put eloquent queries in services. I don't. So again, I just use the action pattern. So here, for example, I would have an application create action, which would have the code that lives here on the repository layer. So basically would mutate the system. But then if I were to fetch the applications, I would either use a query class or using eloquent application directly. That's it. Adrian is saying that going through 3-4 files for 3 lines of code is unneeded complexity. Yep, that's exactly why this application repository should be deleted. Exactly that. It's coming depending on the project, in my opinion. You mean the repository pattern? I don't feel it. I don't think so. Jacob Gaz is saying the following. To me, makes sense in DDD, so the domain rules are not broken from the interface to repository. Yeah, I would, I personally feel like if I'm using Laravel, I would never opt to use DDD, because I feel like if you are using Laravel, you want to embrace a little bit the framework and kind of enjoy all the goodies that the framework gives you. And one example is like you want to use model route binding and model route binding. They break DDD already, so I would never refer to DDD if I'm using just a regular Laravel app. Okay. Can we all agree on adding all PHP code to index.php? Oh my God. You guys are so awesome, man. This stream is being so cool so far. But yeah, great insight here. By the way, I really appreciate you sending this project because we are literally learning a lot all together. And that's part because you guys send those links so we can review all this code together. That's awesome. What else do we see here? I want to see... if you are using observers for your apps, and I don't think you are. We have listeners. Interesting. Let's click here, for example, on set password confirmation listener. Yeah. I'm not a fan of, just events in general. We talked multiple times about this, but, it's just in general. Bear with me for a second. If you are, for example, doing something like this, just move this to the action itself, So the class you are using, you're calling it service, I think. Just move that code that you typically would find here on this events, and just move this events code to that class itself. So you don't have to do it through events, basically. Okay? Also, just in general, a huge try catch is not good. Especially a try catch that catches everything. Okay, so in PHP, try catches, or the entire goal of try catches is to kind of catch undefined behavior, or when things are going out of what is expected. Okay, so typically just having this global try catch, that's bad. Okay, and it's even bad that you are not also rethrowing the exception. That's also bad. But just in general, just try to avoid these huge try catches, okay? That's not good. Yeah, I feel you. I understand you. Just in general, don't use try catches like this. That's not good, okay? So I feel like what you really wanted to do is probably try catch this line right here, which probably talks with an external API, which you should probably then actually try catch, but just this line right here, okay? And even this line, this probably returns a specific exception, things like connection timeout or potentially, HTTP exception like a 500. So you want to catch that exception only. So then you can just say to your logs, all right, I have tried to reach to Stripe, for example, but Stripe is currently unavailable. So I'm going to retry this job, potentially. You know what I mean? And Adrian is saying actually a very good point. I'm glad you are here with us today, Adrian. I would probably also use DB transactions here. That's actually a very good point. So here, for example, you are creating a usage, and after creating this usage, you are interacting with the billing service. Okay, so what happens if the billing service is down? So let's assume, for example, Stripe is down. And if Stripe is down, everything is down, by the way, because the last thing that should happen is a billing thing be out. But let's assume, for example, Stripe is unavailable at the moment. So what will end up happening is that you have the usage, but you were unable to communicate that to the billing service. So typically something that helps on these scenarios is you encapsulate all of this within a DB transaction. So basically, all this line right here, it won't be committed if you are not successfully able to commit that as well to the billing service. And we do that all the time on Laravel Cloud. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. So on Laravel Cloud, we have we have very complex logic regarding create a new application. Okay, so creating an application is actually something that involves creating also an environment, something that involves creating your very first stack, but also something that involves creating your very first, let's say worker, for example. So it doesn't really make sense to have an application if you don't have an environment, and if you don't have a stack, and if you don't have a worker. So typically what this ends up actually doing is that end up being something like application create, okay? And then just below will end up being like environment create. All of these are literally models, okay? And then just below this, you have something like stack create, etc., okay? But let's assume, for example, at the very end of this, there is something that, for example, something here that actually triggers an external service. Let's say, for example, sends an email or something a little bit more complex than this. If you cannot, for example, create a worker, if this very last step fails, the entire application is corrupt, meaning that you cannot actually have a stack without a worker. Okay, that's something that even not the UI will behave as expected. Okay, so typically what I recommend people doing is something that I recommend doing on actions in general. So this will be on my resource too, is that you want to encapsulate all this behavior within a DB transaction. So what is this? This is actually a very interesting concept. The concept of DB transactions is very simple. If this very last step fail, if this throws an exception, this closure right here will just catch that and will say the following: because something around this thing failed a little bit, I'm going to revert whatever was created on this process. So we'll basically delete this one. It will also delete the stack on the database, delete the environment, but also delete the application. So nothing was created. And to this point, you can have something like this. And if the application was null, for example, you can literally communicate to the user, just throw something to the user. What we actually do is something wrong happened. Please reach out or try again, or please reach out support. Okay? By the way, I don't use DB commit and DB transaction. I actually use just DB transaction, and then I just provide a closure inside. That's it. Okay. This is a very important concept in web development, transactions, and it is something that if you are not familiar with transactions, just honestly learn about them. It's a very important concept on the web in general. I think one more example I can give you. Imagine that, for example, you have this shop, for example, and you have two actions. For example, receive the money. This is actually a very good example. Receive the money. In this step of shipping the order, for example. If shipping the order fails, the last thing you want is keep the money with you. You want to give the money back to people. Again, a DB transaction will probably solve this issue in the sense that none of it will be actually committed to the database if anything fails, okay? So if you have any complex operation that needs to be ensured a consistent state, a very good state on a DB, use transactions in general, okay? Bookings, a great example, exactly, Luis. A great example, just bookings in general, is something that you want to be sure you have a transaction system in place that commits everything in the perfect state to the DB too. Indeed. So yeah, if you are not aware of transactions, go learn about them. It's a very important concept, okay? Okay, so again, talking about events and listeners, I'll probably move them to actions. In your case, apparently you are calling this actions, you are calling them services. I would just move that stuff to this place right here, okay? What do I want to do here? Jobs. Do you want to check Q jobs? So this is an interesting one. So apparently there is something called get system status job, okay? Which is something that should be queued, meaning that this will actually be queued to your queuing system, okay? Which already have a retriable mechanism and already reports things to the exceptions, okay? Something I would not do here is this try catch, okay? Because when you try something like this, if this throws an exception, which will throw because you are actually calling this throw method, if this throws an exception, Laravel automatically already reports that exception to the exception logger, meaning that all of this, it's not necessary, okay? You can remove this try catch safely because this is already being reported to Laravel exception logger. And one very powerful feature of Laravel is that, let's assume, for example, cache is actually out of service for a while. What you can do is configure here on the job properties how many times you want to retry this and what is like the delay between tries. So if this is something that you eventually want to do, but you acknowledge that if this throws an exception, you probably want to wait for 30 seconds. You can actually can configure, I think it's called back off, I think. Back off property. You can configure the back off property to be like 1 minute or 5 minutes. So Laravel automatically, thanks to his queue system, it's back off. Yeah, thank you. You can retry this job automatically within 5 minutes, for example. Okay? It's back off. Thank you, thank you. Just in general, chat, this is something that just in general, a try catch is almost always result of a bad API, or in general is something you shouldn't use. Like try catches, in general, they're not good. So something I would probably do here is fetch the response, and if the response is not 200, I don't know, I would probably work that way. But in general, try catches, they are rarely needed, I would say that, okay? Rarely needed. Okay. How would you test backoffs and retries? Laravel gives you an API for that, meaning that you go to Q testing, you have a full API for testing backoffs and retries and everything, okay? Check Laravel Q testing because it is all of that right there. What is values? Oh, is value objects? It is value objects. Interesting. Okay. Good project, man. I feel like there is a bunch of learnings on this project. It's a good project overall. How we are on testing, though? Let's click here on testing. Ooh, very good. Architectural testing, congratulations. This is awesome, okay? This means that you are using the latest and the greatest features of past, but also that you are aware of architectural testing, which is something that only, a very few people are aware of. And you are using browser testing. This is so cool, man. Interesting. Wait, what? You are using browser testing, but Laravel Dusk. Okay, this is something that potentially can migrate to past 4 is browser testing. Yeah, pretty much all of this stuff can be moved to past V40's browser testing. Yeah, and you don't have to do all of this basically. All of this part right here. The API will be the same though. All this API will just work. But yeah. But in general, man, Davey, I think this is a great project. Honestly, you will find legacy code worse than this on pinkery.com. Okay? I'm fully aware that when I'm reviewing projects online, especially projects that are aware they are live for a while now, you always find weird shit. And honestly, on pinkery.com is the same case. You will find, a bunch of legacy code, you will find spaghetti code, you will always find crap, okay? And our goal as a developers, your goal, my goal is always try to improve, how to become better. What can I do to avoid, a situation like that, And the actions pattern, for example, solves some of my problems, but, some of the other things you just learn with time. And I'm always learning, and hopefully you learned something today while I was reviewing your code too. So great project here. Congratulations. Just a clap for Davey for submitting this project. That was a very good project. I can see a lot of experience here. Okay, so congratulations. I love it. Congratulations, man. Love the logo too. That's awesome. Okay, let's review one more. Let's choose one more project together to review before we end the stream. What can we find here? By the way, on the scale 1 to 5, how much do you guys actually like this kind of live streams where we review code and we just talk about code in general? Give a 5 if you really like this kind of live streams, and give, maybe a 4 or 3 if you don't like them at all. You give a 10. Appreciate you guys. You guys are so cool. Jesus Christ. You guys are so cool. All right, we got a 4. That's not bad. That's not bad. Still a 4 is okay. Thank you. I also like this kind of live streams. Okay, so let's pick the next project together. Okay, we have a bunch of them. So we have a JavaScript project. Yeah, I'm not into this. What else we have? Let's review a web app. Pinkery.com. What is this? This is a web app. Cool. This is a web app too. So we have 2 web apps. One is called Laravel React SaaS Starter Kit, and the second one is Spike POS. Spike POS. Interesting. Spike POS? You want to review the Spike POS, chat? Should we go for a Spike POS? Yeah, maybe let's review the Spike POS, because the starter kit we already reviewed one. I don't know what is POS, by the way. I don't know what is POS. Let's review the POS stuff. By the way, chat, if you enjoy this type of content, go all the way down, click like on the video. Don't forget that. That's important. That's very, 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 very important, chat. All right? Go all the way down and put a like on this video. I'm streaming pretty much every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today is what? Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. I was streaming tomorrow too, I think. So put a like on the video if you can. So Spike POS. What is POS? Let's see. Tasks. Important. Request validation. Okay. So I think this project is a work in progress because there is multiple things I don't see. For example, what is this project about? How do I install this project locally? How do I get started on this? Okay, that's important. Don't forget, very first rule of the good documentation is how you get started. You type composer install, you clone the project. I want to see all of that right here. I do see the commands I should run to run the test suite, which is good, but, not enough. How can we find what this project is about? Well, typically something I do, chat, which helps me a little bit, is checking the models folder. Typically, the models folder tell you a lot about the source code. You can just go there and see you can almost infer the project from the models folder. Which project do you think this project is about? What do you think this is about, Chad? So we see customers, we see roles, permissions, supplier. Almost feels like a CMS, I would say. What do you think? Point of selling? What is a point of selling, Chad? Point of selling meaning. Feature a product that sells that... Wait, what? A feature of a product for sale that makes it attractive to customers. Selling points... Oh, it's like selling points to be presented to customers. That's it. Interesting. Okay, it's basically when... Oh, okay, it's a place. Okay, so this app is a place where a customer... What is this? Shadow just became premium sponsor on YouTube. I really appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you so much for your support, dude. Thank you. It means the world to me. You guys supporting my work on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you. So it's basically a place where customers complete the purchase of goods and services. Interesting. So let's just go back and review the code itself. So this is a place where people complete a purchase. Okay? Complete a purchase is a Laravel app, which is okay. What are you using for the front end? Is using Ziggy Chat. Okay, Ziggy has served the community very well. However, there is something better these days, which I forgot the name. What is the name of the Ziggy equivalent we have at Laravel? Jesus Christ, I'm such a bad Laravel team member. Anyways, we just released something at Laravel that replaces Ziggy. Okay, it's Wayfinder. Here we go. Thank you. So you should use Wayfinder instead of Ziggy to have access to those routes on the front end. That will give you much more. Okay? That will give you much more. Thank you, Wayfinder. I know. I'm just such a bad teammate. Jesus Christ. Wayfinder for getting access to those backend routes automatically. Okay? Inertia for the front end, which is perfect. Framework, of course. George, thank you so much for becoming a premium sponsor on YouTube. Oh yeah, George, I really appreciate your support on YouTube. Your support is important, chat. Your support is important. On Twitch, you can become a Twitch subscriber if you want to, support my work here. On YouTube, you can become a premium member to literally have access to all the previous live streams, okay? Thank you. Laravel 12, of course. Tinker, do I use Tinker? I rarely use Tinker these days. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I know. Spassy Laravel permission for rollback permissions. That's awesome. Ziggy, of course. What else we see here? Laravel debugger, fake elastin, and all the good tooling here. Except that it probably should be using now past 4 and Rector 3. I think Rector is already on the version 3, I think. I need to check that. What else? All the good juicy I'm using literally all the time in all my projects. Type coverage 100%, but also testing coverage 100%. That's awesome, and congratulations. This is absolutely awesome, man. This is very good, man. Good stuff here. So let's click here. Whoa, what? Chuxiax, thank you so much for the subscription on Prime on Twitch. I really appreciate your support, man. You are awesome. Through Prime, man. Thank you. So what can we find here? Boo. Let's click on app. Ooh, we finally see some actions folder, chat. For the very first time today, we get to see this folder with the name actions. Finally, what can we see here? Let's see if he's using actions correctly. Let's click, for example, on products. Okay, this nested foldering thing, I wouldn't probably use this, but it's interesting to see. So let's just think all together. Let's just, just read this stuff together, like as a family. So we have this actions folder that contains a people's folder. The people's folder have a customers folder. In the customers folder have all of the actions for the customer. Interesting. Okay. Let's just think a little bit, chat. Let's think a little bit. I prefer just a flat structure, meaning that within the actions folder, I would have create customer, delete customer, update customer, and potentially the rest of the other ones, potentially hundreds. Okay. But I'm willing to accept that he did this. Okay. And probably there is a good reason. Okay. Yes, I'm streaming on Kick too, by the way. Okay. I'm not, I barely use Kick these days, but I'm gonna send you the link, chat. I'm gonna send you the link of my Kick channel in case you guys want to go there and watch me live. Actually, the platform on Kick, I think, is built on top of Laravel. So here we go, chat. If you guys want to check my Kick, here we go. Here we go. Anyway, let's jump into this create customer to see what exactly lives within this action. Okay, let's do that, chat. Let's do that all together. Yeah, I put all of the actions within the same folder, but I get it. I get it why we would do this way, okay? So strict types on top, that's good. Let's go all the way down, and we have a final class, which it's not read-only, probably could be read-only. I'm okay that I don't see read-only here, but probably could be read-only. Again, we talked about this. We don't need this, okay? We don't need this comment. However, interesting. Okay. So something I would do here, Shad, is remove this. And the very first argument would be a DTO. Okay, I am fully into DTOs right now. I really think that if you want to send information to an action, just encapsulate that within the DTO file. So then you have a type-safe object being sent to the action. You can either do this through a DTO. Second option, Chad, is having an array shape thanks to PHP Stand. I like them both. You can decide the one you use. Write on the chat right now if you use actions, and if yes, which type of approach would you take here? DTOs or array shapes? Let me know. Or none of them. Potentially just, nothing at all. Someone just subscribed. I don't know who it was. Oh, I can see here. There you go. Shortdan, thank you so much for following me. I appreciate that. Hey, George TX, what's up? Nice to see you, man. I'm using mutation testing too, by the way. It's not something we have covered, and it's difficult to make people understand that, but we may talk about that. A lot of people using DTOs, indeed. Indeed. A lot of people using DTOs. We have some questions from the audience. What is a DTO? Great question. A DTO is a simple class that you would just type all of the arguments on a constructor. You know what I mean? So just a very simple, let's create a DTO together right here. So a DTO would be something like this. Create user DTO. Okay. So just a simple class, super simple class. And inside, you would have a constructor with all the typed arguments. That's it. Okay. And instead of calling your action like this with an unstructured array that looks like this, you would create the DTO in advance on the form request or elsewhere, but the DTO will have all the information fully typed, the email, and all the information fully typed, okay? Not the password. Let's not talk about the password right now. Here we go. And then you just take this DTO and send it to the action. You would probably, one of your questions is, why would you do this? And the reason why would you use this, it's because of type safety. Type safety is something that a lot of you understand. However, if you have a background of a language that is not type safe, you may not get this. Like if you have done vanilla JavaScript all your life, you probably don't understand the concept of type safety. But type safety in web development, but also in especially not web development, is very important. You want to make sure you are using PHP Stand in PHP, TypeScript in JavaScript, And obviously, Go and Rust, they come with all this type safety goodness that we can find. Okay. Yeah, form requests, they don't replace DTOs in the sense that you can have form requests, but then you would turn those form request data into a DTO. That's the way it works today. Okay, Shad? You cannot link DTOs to models, by the way. In the sense that DTOs, ideally, they are communicated from requests. So after validating the data, you inject that validated data into DTOs, and then you send the DTOs into actions. Ideally, I'm going to explain all of this on my actions course coming soon, if I actually end up doing it. Hopefully I will. But yeah. Very good thing here, transactions. We just literally talked about this today, and now we are seeing it. This is so good, man. Transactions as the very first thing this action is doing. Making sure, no matter what happens inside, if anything goes wrong, we just revert the entire thing. Lovely, perfect. I absolutely love this. I absolutely love this, okay? Yoaki is saying how you deal with lock wait time exceeded in Laravel. Within 2 queue jobs, try to update the same row. You should, so typically there is multiple lock levels, but you are talking about the same row. I don't think I've ever faced that in transactions. Transactions are automatically retried as well in Laravel, so I don't know. I don't think I've ever faced that in the past, at least. Okay. I love that you guys love DTOs, by the way. That's a very important thing. Okay. That's a very important thing. All right. So then we go to attributes and we actually fetch the attributes. Why would I use array flip here? Okay. Anyway, we do something with the attributes, and then we create the customer with those attributes. All perfect so far. If we have an avatar, we are going to add the media into that customer. Absolutely perfect. If the customer is a user, we store the user request. Ooh, okay. This is something I wouldn't do here. Okay. Typically, this is just my opinion. In general, when you call actions, everything is already validated up front. Okay? In actions, also, they should not depend on the HTTP layer. You see this? And you see this? Actions typically should not depend on this. So if you want to use them on the console or on the queue jobs, you literally do not depend on HTTP layer, okay? So you can just reuse them on queue jobs or on the console. So ideally, I would not do this here, meaning that the information comes, and you can just use it right here. Also, unrelated, but important too, you can inject this action on the constructor of this class too. If you want to use chained actions, that's awesome, but you can inject this on the constructor. You don't have to create a freshly new object here, okay? The rest of it is good. So again, I would not validate stuff here. This could be done up front before calling the very first action to begin with. You can also inject this on the constructor, and yeah, do not depend on HTTP layer, and I guess the rest of it is good. Good code here we are validating today. You are using something called get customers, and I've seen a lot of people actually asking me if I would create, for example, an action that fetches data, something like get customers. I keep my own queries folder for this kind of things, but if you want to be consistent and do this too, it's fine as long as you do it everywhere else. Okay. How would you invoke those actions on the controller? You just use method injection. So in your controller, you have something called store. In the very first argument of that store could be the action itself, okay? Stefan is saying the action is a pattern similar to CQRS. So I think the action pattern is a very small piece of CQRS. But yeah, we could dive into that too. I'm going to probably dive into that on my resource I'm creating. It's mainly commands, exactly. It's just a piece of CQRS, indeed. I love it though. It's something as a topic that it gets me sweating from my hands, man. I just love this topic. So anyways, actions, very good stuff. We have contracts, of course. What else we have? Enums, are those enums well typed using methods? Yes, of course. Match statements too. This is absolutely awesome. Facades. Interesting. I typically don't use facades at app level, but interesting. You may have some complex logic to be able to do that. Let's see, for example, the customer model. Love it. I love that you are using property annotations all the way top. This is fantastic for code discoverability, but also for PHP Stan. Generic types, very important thing too. This is awesome. I'm using fillable, something I would typically avoid to use, but that's fine too. Generic relations, this is awesome. Yep, good. It's looking good. I would just avoid this, but the rest of it looks good. Let's go here to user, for example. This is looking sexy, man. Congratulations. Yeah, I would avoid this. List of strings. Yeah, if you want to be like perfect regarding types, something I would do here is an array shape that says that email verified is a datetime and the password is hashed. So Laravel understands even better your models, okay? But this is literally to go, even more perfect. It's actually fine the way it is, but just one more step. What is support? Ooh. Yeah, in general, I really try to avoid stuff like this, okay? I understand why you did it, but in general, I would advise you to not just do random helpers like this, okay? Just in general, like, imagine yourself jumping into a code like this, and you suddenly see a random global function with the name getIDs. I'm not sure if it's global. It is actually global, yes. So you would see just a random function with the name getIDs, and another one with the name extractIDs, and another one with the name setInValue. It just feels weird and odd, I would avoid that from happening. If you want to do something, just do it on the spot so people can exactly understand what's happening. So just in general, helpers like this, it's something I would typically like to avoid. I don't like policies either, Adrian. People are asking me, like, why do I typically avoid fillables? That's a question that I get so many times. I just don't see the value on using fillables if I can control the update, okay? So if I can control the data being sent to an update through from requests, why would I use fillables? You know what I mean? Fillables protect against a problem that I don't have. That's it. That's it. And providers, I was kind of expecting to see this. This is actually a very good thing. We talked multiple times about this. This is something that Laravel Essentials gives you by default. In case you don't know, I have this package with the name Laravel Essentials. It's basically something that gives you better defaults at Laravel. Things like, immutable dates, forced HTTPS, fakes all of the sleeps, gives you a few artisan commands. I'm going to send you this so you guys can see this. Here we go. But if you are not using Laravel Essentials, obviously you want to kind of do all of these things yourself. So typically you go to your app service provider and you want to make sure you are using, aggressive prefetching on Vite. This is awesome. Avoid migrate fresh on production. Shoot strict models, of course, and unguarded on models too. Interesting. So he's using model unguard but still with fillable properties? That doesn't make any sense. So if you are using unguarded models, you don't need the fillables, okay? Mark Toper from TikTok is asking which DTO package I prefer. I don't prefer any DTO package, meaning that I just build my own DTO classes, okay? I appreciate you being on that side on TikTok, man. Love you. Can you plug in essentials to an existing code base? You need to be careful. Essentials literally change your application logic, okay? Dates will now be immutable. There is multiple things essentials change. So if you like essentials, the package, you probably should use it only on fresh new projects, not existing ones. Okay? Just by the way, regarding the action pattern, you want to inject the very first class on the method injection. You rarely you should not resolve it from the app container, okay? Well, you should, but through method injection, and that's it. But yeah, forcing HTTP, it's basically like forcing HTTP? Shouldn't this be force HTTPS? This is a bug, huh? We need to fix this. This should be force scheme HTTPS, not HTTP. Immutable dates. And, it's been a while that I didn't see this. This is literally changing the default string length for migrations, which is this value. This is typically something I like to avoid because it depends on the database provider you are using. So I like to stick with the defaults that come with Laravel, okay? Yeah, this is weird, man. Like, why would you force HTTP? You wouldn't force HTTPS. Like, what the heck? You are forcing the HTTP schema. Is that intentional? There we go. Let's just create an issue so the guy can see it. It's a mistake, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a mistake. Oh my God. Shad, that was a very fun stream, Shad. Let's clap for Shaidar for his project. It was awesome, by the way. I think all of the projects we saw today, they were very good projects. I don't think you guys realize it once you go to the world out there, I don't think you guys realize the crappy code we find. All of the projects we found today, they were very good projects. Like, honestly. They have very good foundations. All of them have testing. And this is something like, if you look at the existing projects these days, none of them have testing. All of the projects we saw today, they had testing, they had PHP stand. They were, in general, good Laravel projects. But of course, over time, there is a few things that can be better. And that's perfectly fine. We can grow with them, and we can learn with them too. Shed, I absolutely loved today's live stream. I think it was a very good one. I want to do more of this, okay? If you enjoy the type of content I produce, please go to my YouTube channel, click on the subscribe button, and honestly, I'm going to probably post a YouTube video just with this content today. It was a really good content, so I feel like I can do probably a very good YouTube video just about today's live stream. We have a bunch of other videos on my YouTube channel, if you like them, about PHP 8.5, Filament 4, and more, okay? That being said, that will be it today. I'm going to rate someone on Twitch as usual. In case you don't know, rating someone on Twitch means sending every single of my viewers to a different channel. So let's do that real quick. You guys can submit your code. If you want to submit your code so I can review it later, you can submit your code to my Discord channel. Okay, my Discord channel have a channel or a group with the name Review My Code, and you can literally submit all of the stuff right there, okay? So let's rate someone today. Who do we have today? Let's see. Do we have anyone doing PHP maybe? Not PHP. How about Laravel, though? I think only Maya is streaming at the moment. Yeah, let's rate Maya. Maya is a great streamer, and it's one of my favorite streamers. She's streaming about Rust and Svelte, so let's just do that. Chat, thank you so much for being on that side. I love you all. Catch you guys next time, and peace out.